this took a while to get started. Sonic Unleashed has seen a lot of popularity in recent days. It seems to be one of those games that people now really love because they're part of the best Sonic games. I can't agree with that. There's just this one big problem with the game, actually quite a few, but I guess we'll get to that. Let's talk about Sonic Unleashed and why I can see other people love it. I am not a big fan of it. The development for the game went right about after Sonic 06 was not a commercial success. Not commercial, a critical success. The game actually made a good amount of money for what it was, but they were not happy with the critical reception of the game, so they needed to do something new. One was actually make a new engine for the next-gen consoles, which they did, as well as not worrying about the 6th generation port / Wii port of the game, which will end up being the Sonic and Skill Rings fiasco. This time, they're going to have the Unleashed version on Wii and PS2 be developed by Dimps, who did the 2D Sonic games, which was a good idea. And just have Sonic Team focus on a brand new engine known as the Hedgehog engine, which was designed to make the game look the best it could possibly be. And one thing I'll give Sonic Unleashed, this is definitely one of the best looking Sonic games. In fact, I think it is the best looking Sonic game to this date. The game is gorgeous. I won't give it away for that. There's some areas that don't hold up as well, mostly in some animated cutscenes that aren't the pre-rendered ones, but other than that, this game holds up incredibly well in the art department. Though it's it's nice. And I guess Sega thought so too, because these Sonic and Tails models and all the other ones, these guys right here, well, they pretty much use the exact same template for these guys since to this day, which has caused some fans to be like, these models could probably be updated, but whatever, it works for this game. And with this new engine, they're able to go make Sonic even faster. Faster than what they originally intended with Sonic World Adventure, which was called. They actually still called that in Japan, but they changed it for obvious reasons. It's not an adventure game by really any stretch of the imagination. Some of the early development decisions were ones that caused the game, in my opinion, for the worse, including pretty much scrapping every Sonic character friends. They knew it was going to be controversial, but I guess they were trying to appeal to those weird critics that hate these characters, but I don't know a single Sonic fan that actually hates the extended cast. In fact, it's the exact opposite. And this will be a trend for pretty much every game until kind of recently when they're bringing them back. This is including not having Tails being a playable character since, well, ever in the main game, which is kind of, look how Sonic Skill Rings, but who the hell cares about that game? But you know what? They give us great trade-offs. They're like, but let's add something and make Sonic wilder, and make him use his arms instead of his legs, which, why would they even come up with that in the first place? So they knew those could be problems, so they designed Sonic in a different form for him, instead of giving just like another one character. Like, I don't understand that. That's what I said when I was looking it up, like, what? I was so confused. This is a new director to this game, by the way, in case you couldn't tell who came up with these ideas. Worked on previous games, but now as a director, and yeah, there's some design issues that I'm not a big fan of. And that idea was this. Sonic the Werehog. Well, I'm incredibly mixed on this character. One, it's kinda cool, but on the other hand, it's really dumb. It's like, it's on the borderline of both, and in execution in-game, it doesn't work. You would think, oh, okay, so Sonic has a split personality? No, just Sonic. He just looks like a monster, I guess, but not really. And yeah, that's about it. It was just designed to make a new gameplay style. Many people think this is because of the popularity of the God of War franchise, which was going on around this point in time, but there seems to be no evidence that they were inspired by this game, even though there is some inspiration. Now, in my opinion, God of War 1, 2, and 3, I haven't played the third one, but the first two I played, and I'm not the biggest fan of them. I much prefer the newer Norse titles, but they're fine, but they are way better than what we got. So instead of giving us multiple playable characters, the game director decided that it would be better to give the players tonal whiplash by having one game being extremely fast and high platforming to one that is incredibly slow with a lot of button mashing and that feels incredibly sluggish. These gameplay styles don't mix well at all. If it's just one and the other, then it'll be fine, but the way it's structured, I feel I don't like playing it personally. If I want to play a beat 'em up, I'd rather play a beat 'em up. Make that the whole game or make the other whole game. They don't mix well at all. When Sonic Unleashed was first initially released in 2008, most people had the same opinion about it. While some of the day levels were fun, the levels dragged down by the tonal whiplash of the Werehog levels, which were just okay at best, but very annoying at worst. But over the years, fans are like, wait, this game isn't that bad, especially when other games stole the boost formula from this one, even though technically Sonic Rush did that first, but not 3D. Like, don't get me wrong, this game was overly hated at the time, and this game, I would say, for the most part, is a good game. It is that there's a lot of elements in it that I don't think gel very well. I get tonal whiplash. I don't get into the story as much as others, but we'll get into that when we get into that. However, there was a very big overhating of this game, especially from people like IGN, who, by their footage, could barely play the fucking game. Like, in their footage, they literally showcased them dying in the dumbest way possible by jumping over a ramp for no reason, as well as the fact that they seem to mess up all the mechanics in the early levels, by the way. Now, Sonic Unleashed, I feel like, is probably the hardest Sonic game, next to maybe the Sonic Frontiers, the DLC, but this one is a harder game, but then again, they're showcasing them failing at the early levels. They are so bad, and that's why a lot of people are like, Sonic Unleashed actually is a good game, introduced the boost formula that we all love. So really, let's get into it. What does Sonic Unleashed do that made people love it, and why am I not so big on it, especially compared to later and previous games, at least in my opinion? Well, Sonic Unleashed has a brand new gameplay. The gameplay has two forms of gameplay, the day stages and the night stages. Day stages we're playing as Sonic in a new boost formula, which will become the standard from here on out. Sorry, Adventure Formula, you are better, but here we go. Boost formula is fun for what it is, though, don't get me wrong, I do prefer the Adventure Formula, but here it did create a thing that could be explored more over time. The boost formula essentially lets Sonic go incredibly fast. With press of the X button, I'm assuming you're playing on Xbox 360 like I did, Sonic will go forward in an incredibly fast motion, which is fine, except for the fact that this game, and only in this game, the boost button is also on the same button as the homing attack, which means that sometimes you'll be falling off the edge if you're not hitting what you want to. You know, it feels like you're hitting what you want to, like, oh, there's a target, can I hit it? Nope, oh, sorry, Sonic just air dashed and did nothing. I really don't like that formula, but whatever. And other things you could do is drift during some sections, which isn't very often, as well as pressing the B button to crouch, as well as do a stomp maneuver, which you have to unlock, by the way. You can also do things like light speed dash, which you also have to unlock, as well as wall jumping, which you also have to unlock. Some of the main standard things you have to unlock, which is kind of weird, but I guess it's based off the old style where they upgraded it, but here it doesn't really make much sense. But yeah, one of the interesting things about the boost formula is that there is sections that are in 2D, which in this game there isn't too much, but you know, as later on it will be a lot more. Though I will give this one credit, there is a lot more 3D in the 3D Sonic game than there is in future ones. They get really obsessed with having him in 2D most of the time because it's easier to develop. The biggest problem with the boost formula is, well, not only does it feel a little bit more linear, even though there is alternate pathways to take, but it's also the fact that because of how much fast Sonic's going, it requires them to develop a lot more of the level and stuff you can barely see. So you have to see all this high detail stuff that you go by really fast and not really suck in, which is kind of a shame, and it causes the development time to be longer and causes the levels to be, well, not as long, and causes them to actually have to add filler sections in order for it to work. So overall, the boost formula, while it is fun, it's not I feel like it's not the best way to keep going as Sonic in the future, but it seems like they won't stop doing it, but whatever. Another problem I don't like about it, in this game at least, is that Sonic feels like he's always perpetually going forward and makes some platforming sections not as easy. It's better when just like a quick reaction thing, but in this game it'll try to make you do certain things that I feel don't work, especially in the later stages. I felt like I was dying for things that weren't even my fault because it was just so finicky. It's kind of hard to show that because it just happens randomly, but yeah, I did die based on reasons that felt like weren't my fault, and I know when I fuck up in a game, but I swear, when I was dying, I wasn't feel like I messed up anyway. I felt like the game just like, okay, you can't do that. What? I could do that before. I don't know, I feel like in later boost games, it was a little bit more polished, even though these levels are a bit more open. I don't know, I think they did a better job in colors and the generations with the boost levels. Maybe that's just me, but I'm just nitpicking at this point. But when you go tonight, you turn to a Werehog, and all of a sudden the gameplay is slight, very different. The Werehog's main mechanic is that you have to beat up all the enemies in order to pass certain areas. So we're going from a very different gameplay style. The only time in Sonic history where we slowed down this much was during Big's fishing in Sonic Adventure 1, which isn't a good thing, by the way. Though this is nowhere near as bad as that. It kind of is, because you have to play a lot more of this than Big's fishing. But I don't like the Werehog. It's pretty much a button masher where you have to unlock certain combos, which is fine, but you have to really replay stuff if you want to make the Werehog actually feel better, but then it doesn't really matter because later on the levels make it kind of eh. Essentially, you have to use the mechanics. You have to really know how to work it in order to make it fun and make it work. Another problem with this is that there's very little enemy variety in the game. It's mostly just a same Eggman robot and some of the Dark Gaia stuff there to fight, which aren't fun, and the ones they add later on are just fucking annoying. Especially in the final stage, the shield enemies are just okay, they're not really much to do there. The stupid wizard enemies are terrible. There's also an Eggman gunner that just shoots a million bullets at you, which are impossible to dodge and will just drain your health if you don't know what you're doing, which I'm not a big fan of, alright? I'm not a big fan. Though, honestly, the worst aspect of the Werehog is the platforming. It seems fun at first doing all this little platforming stuff, I do like that, but the Werehog's version feels incredibly sluggish, like, it was not designed well. There's bad flow. And you know what, even in other gameplay styles in the previous games with different characters, the one thing I liked is they felt like they had a good flow between each of the characters. I feel like each one had a unique sense of speed in a different way. You can shoot fast with the Tails and the Tornado and the Venture 2, stuff like that. But here, it doesn't feel like that at all. I don't have fun pulling a switch of a lever to make a clock can go. I don't like doing that in other games either. And now it seems like this is 90% of the gameplay here. 50% is button mashing or defeat enemies. The other half is mindless platforming. That I love platforming games. It just not feel fun to do this. It's clunky. It's stiff. It doesn't have good flow to it. I don't know what else to say. But by far, the worst aspect of the Werehog is something that I have no idea how they didn't fix when this game came out. That was fixed in the PC release, which I'll talk about a little later. Do you like that music? Get used to it. You hear it every time there's a fight in this fucking game. 90% of the time, there's only like a very few exceptions, like a boss fight or something like that, where the atmospheric music will play, and then all of a sudden you'll hear it's not even bad, but like, since you're fighting most of the time, you're just hearing the same very repetitive music over and over again. Like, it's okay for like one round, but the fact you hear it all the time is ridiculous. And like I said, a fan PC port pretty much got rid of this entirely because it's ridiculous. I don't know how they play tested that and not fixed it. It should be an easy fix, I thought, but I don't know. There's a glitch where I had where Sonic kept repeating the same dialogue in the final boss fight over and over again. I was like, what the fuck's going on here? And then I was like replacing it, the regular dialogue there, the subtitles. Like, wait, shouldn't Eggman be saying something? Why is Sonic saying the same thing over? But I guess it was just a glitch. I ended up finding a little bit more glitches in this game that were more annoying than other Sonic games. Not extreme, but it happened more so than I did when I was playing Sonic 06, which I guess would tell you something, but whatever. So yeah, that's the Werehog. You press the B button to grab stuff, but even though it doesn't grab stuff, then you can do combos, I guess, but it doesn't really work that well. I think the only thing I really liked about the Werehog was the boss fights. They worked fine for the most part. They weren't that great, but they were fine. They weren't terrible. And really, the only thing else to really say about them is that you have two options. You can use the Unleash, which you can build up, which allows your attacks to be stronger, but that's a nice thing. And then you have the shield button, which can break, and yeah, that's about it. It's not that useful other than like certain areas. And that's really all there is to the Werehog. He's kind of bare bones, and honestly, does not feel that thought out, and really I feel like they should have scrapped this, or at least have a different character be here. Sonic as a Werehog is just stupid. I'm sorry to say it. It's kind of neat, but at the same time, like, why would this is like Knuckles or something like that? At least that would make sense. I don't know, who gives a shit. Anyway, let's talk about the story, which I will also say is really good. It's not bad either, but it's not the greatest thing ever. I don't know what people are talking about with that. Though it does start off pretty good. This opening cinematic is probably one of the best things Sonic's ever been in, animated by Mars Animation, who would also animate the Sonic movies later on, which is pretty cool. They would do some opening sequences, but nowhere near as epic or as grand as this one. Unfortunately, they only had like two. One here and one at the end. But this is really cool. Basically, it shows Eggman's base in a kind of a Star Wars-esque feel, where Sonic just comes in and destroys the whole entire thing. There's one point where he gets captured by Eggman. Uh-oh. But he's like, fuck you, Eggman, I got the 7 Chaos Emeralds, so he just turns Super Sonic and destroys everything. This is literally one of the coolest things I ever saw as a kid. In fact, I probably watched this cutscene more than I actually played Sonic Unleashed as a kid. Since I would try to like it, but the Werehog stages are pretty hard to get through, alright? Alright, I also had it in Wii, but we'll get to that later. So Eggman cries a little bitch, and he seems to, as Sonic seems to have defeated him before the game even begun. Well, that seems quick. But remember, Sonic 3, when you Super Sonic 2, he failed there too. And apparently Eggman's found a device that can strip the Chaos Emeralds from Sonic. I don't know how that works, but I guess it doesn't really matter anyway. Sonic does make this face, which is pretty funny. So Eggman's dildo-shaped cannon rocket thing, using the power of the Chaos Emeralds, it's able to shoot a laser beam right into Earth, like he was trying to do in Sonic Adventure 2. He does it pretty easily here. So Eggman breaks the Earth in half, or Mobius, whatever you want to call it, or Sonic's world. It has too many fucking different meanings. And apparently this awakens a dark creature inside of Sonic, apparently. Because whatever this thing called Dark Gaia erupts, and that makes Sonic turn into a werewolf, or a werehog. Okay, what? I don't know the correlation between the two, but whatever. So now that Gas Emeralds have no power and Sonic's shoes have transformed along with him, isn't that weird? His shoes have spikes on them now? Like, how the hell did that happen? Don't question it. So why is Eggman doing this in the first place? So Sonic falls onto Earth, or Mobius, or Sonic's world, whatever the fuck it's called. He wants to build Eggman Land, okay? Golly. And he finds this little shit, or chip, I guess, whose spoiler is like Gaia. I mean, what else would this thing be? It's a really weird design. It makes sense, but it's also kind of weird looking. Also, the cutscene took a dramatic downgrade because we're in real renders and not pre-renders. So despite the fact that Sonic's turning to werewolf, and usually in media that means he's going to have a split personality, and he might attack people, but no, he's just the same. His voice has changed, though, drastically, but that's about it. The same voice actor, different voice. But it doesn't matter because Sonic quickly turns from a werewolf into a regular hedgehog again. I said werewolf. I know people get mad when I say that, but I'm just saying it in a general sense. I know it's a werehog. I'm not an idiot. I know this shit. I'm a Sonic fucking nerd. Have you seen my room? So, yeah, that werehog thing seems to be very temporary, as Sonic is back to his normal self, I guess, and doesn't seem to care at all. And, yeah, it's fine. The performances here are probably the best of the 4Kids era next to the next game. I think Jason Griffith really gets into Sonic by this point in the timeline, and I wish he stayed around, actually. I still prefer Ryan Drummond, but, you know, he's better than Roger Craig Smith. No offense.
Yeah, this is the real me. Pretty cool, huh?
And I like his voice in the actual game. It just sounds pretty good. It sounds like Sonic, alright? I miss those Sonic sound effects. Those are just some of the best, actually, in-game for like his little volley effects, I guess, whatever you call it. The little samples there where he boosts and shit like that. It sounds good. It sounds like Sonic. Then we're introduced to one thing that's appearing no well, Sonic Unleashed. There are humans in this game, but they don't look like the previous one. In Sonic Adventure, the humans, even though they're low poly, were anime-based, which worked well. In 06, they were realistic, like The Sims. It didn't look good at all, even though I like the character models of the main cast. The humans look like shit in that game. Why do they look like The Sims? That's what I want to know. And Unleashed was the last game that a lot of human characters actually appear in, is when they actually look the best. They actually look like kind of like Pixar characters. But, you know, it works very well. Keep in mind, there is a human character in Sonic, and we gotta match what that guy looks like, Eggman. And these guys, well, they look like the same type of design as Eggman. They don't look realistic, which doesn't work. And anime also works, but I think this is the best style. And if they ever bring them back, I really hope they do this. Which they kind of did, but they brought back characters from previous games. Like the Gun Commander guy was in the animated Short for Shadow game, and as well as Maria and Gerald, but they're kind of always going to be there. So who knows, they'll bring in more human characters. But yeah, I do prefer these designs over the previous ones. Though despite the human characters in the game, other than one, don't do anything. In fact, this guy here is talking about how much he loves ice cream, which does look pretty good, and doesn't care that the world is blown over. As a matter of fact, literally nobody in this game cares about the fact that the world's been split into multiple pieces, which could be very catastrophic and would be very dangerous, but they don't care. They have little petty problems. In fact, the dialogue for these characters are kind of They're not great. They're nowhere near as memorable as Sonic Adventure, to say the least, even though they have more unique designs. In this game, we actually are given hub worlds, one where we can talk to the human characters, even though there's not a whole lot there to do. And a second hub world in the same area where you can find low level areas where we have to do minor platforming to get to them. I'm not a big fan of the design of either one because they're too segmented to be really interesting, and they're not really that well connected. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of these hub worlds because they really don't have a lot going for them. They're kind of pointless seeing how small they are, and the second level area hub world just don't do much for me either. I don't know why they were connected to begin with, like Sonic Adventure 1 sub-worlds were. I honestly do prefer the 06 one, since they seem to at least have some coherency. But yeah, I don't really care for these sub-worlds. Sorry. And I'm not the only one who thought this, because Dimps decided when making their Wii/PS2 version of the game, the hub worlds just don't exist. Instead, you used to press on things and you get these still images. Oh well. This brings the whole game says Sonic transforms to Hedgehog and Werehog, but it barely affects the plot, just something that happens, basically, because it has one interaction with Aim where he gets sad, and that's about it. The rest of them is trying to find Chip's memory. If you couldn't guess, he's like Gaia. It's not really that shocking. What else is he? He doesn't even look like a fucking animal. I guess he does, but not like a specific type. Also, when it comes dark, sometimes, and I say sometimes, the characters will get depressed that the world's broken apart, which seems normal, but apparently that means they're possessed by Dark Gaia. This happens so little, you'll forget it even happens. It sounds like an interesting concept, and why doesn't Sonic get corrupted like the Werehog? Wouldn't that be the same thing? Oh, well, because his willpower's too good. Don't ask me. And speaking of which, one of the strangest things about this game is that we are traveling the world, which is neat, but you see all these different human characters. But you know what you won't see? Is other Sonic characters. Where are they? Wouldn't this be a perfect time just to plop one down? You could do that, right? That would make it a little interesting to see this seems to be a connected world between these humans and Morbian, like, Afro characters, but no. All we get is Tails and Amy, and that's it. And they are pretty useless. Tails just cries like a little bitch for the first time in his career. Keep that in mind. After that, we get to fight the Egg Beetle boss fight, who, despite becoming an Egg Beetle, well, that doesn't look like a beetle to me, it looks like a fucking spider. This boss fight is pretty basic, but it's fun for the most part, where you basically just boost into Eggman and dodge some of his attacks by using the sidestep. Yeah, Sonic's a sidestep now. The buttons, not the buttons, what they call it? Not the triggers, they're called like the bumpers, there you go, on your controller allow Sonic to do a sidestep left and right. But yeah, that's basically what you're going to need to use in this boss fight, but it's pretty easy, so who cares. Literally, the only thing that happens here is that Amy shows up and thinks that Werehog Sonic is Sonic, but then realizes, like, oh wait, you're not Sonic, you know, he is Sonic, and then Sonic is sad about this. Son Amy confirmed? No, not really. But you can ask Amy out on a date at the end of the game. I like that aspect. That's about it. And that's all she does in this entire game. I don't know why they felt like she needed to be in here if that's all she's going to do. Which is nothing. Doesn't even help out fighting the monsters. She just is useless. Well, great writing, Sega. So, I really have not much to say about the story. That's pretty much most of the story there. Eggman's useless, his robots make fun of him. Dark Gaia doesn't have any presence at all. Some of his enemies appear, but then again, and they affect some people, but that's about it. So we're just left with the stages here, and they have to do them in weird orders that are just annoying as hell. It's kind of like it's like trying to have RPG elements, but failing miserably at it. It just doesn't work with this gameplay style, either one of them, and the Werehog works fine. But yeah, you can upgrade your character, including Sonic. You can upgrade his speed. Why would you do that? He's already incredibly fast in this game. In fact, he's a little too fast, hard to control sometimes. But yeah, you can control that. That makes no sense. Anyway, most of the upgrades, I don't know anybody who upgrades regular day Sonic. They upgrade the Werehog for obvious reasons, because he needs as much upgrades as you can get. So yeah, one of the next stages you get is Cool Edge, which I'm not going to talk about the Sonic ones, if the Werehog levels are just the same bullshit over and over again. This Cool Edge is pretty fun, because you get to go in little bobsleds around the Antarctica. Not Antarctica, it's technically in a northern Canada area, which is, you know, neat. Alaska. Then you gotta do Werehog and Rooftop Run in Spagonia. And then you go to Chun-Nun in Dragon Road at night. This game is a clusterfuck, like I said. You're not playing one-to-one, you're playing, oh, here's a bunch of Werehog stages, then some day stages. Also, the Werehog level in Chun-Nun is terrible. One time I was just trying to get a collectible, and because the game didn't let me see what I was doing, I died and lost a bunch of progress, which you have to do over again. Which is lovely. I know there's checkpoints and stuff like that, but checkpoints for Werehog are kind of annoying because of how shitty he is. I hate him. In Chun-Nun, we do have this Dark Gaia Phoenix boss fight, which is pretty basic. Essentially, all you do is just wait for him to stop flying and throw these water pots on top of these platforms at him because he's on fire, and then you punch him a bunch of times. It's not much, but this is way better than the rest of Werehog stuff. They actually designed these boss fights to actually be fun. Who knew the Werehog could be fun? Though during the boss fight and other gameplay elements of the Werehog, you can tell that what generation this came out, because there's quick time events. Which, Frontiers also brought them back, but here it's funny. And also this weird sound effect that plays every time you get one right. Apparently Sonic was knocking on a doorbell the whole time. But after that, we can do the best level in the game, by a lot, Rooftop Run. It has the best music in the game, and it was brought back for Sonic Generations for a reason. And where Spagonia's Rooftop Run, it is wonderful. Running through a nice countryside, it's countryside, it's a little town basically. It's lovely. One of the highlights of this level is that later on, you get to climb up or run up a giant clock tower, which is pretty much insane. You do this to the Werehog too, but definitely feel the scope more here, and just see how good Sonic Unleashed looks like even 20 years later. Like, geez Louise, you would not see stuff like this in the earlier Sonic games, that's for sure. And we also can go back to other stages like Dragon Road Day, which, has a lot more platforming, which, like I said, doesn't really work that well with the gameplay style. It does work, but it makes you wonder, like, I miss the smooth turning of the Adventures titles, where I feel like I had complete control of the character, and not like he's, like, always like a torpedo, like he has to go forward. But, other than that, this level is fine. In fact, most levels here are fine. I'll let you know if there's any BS here. Here we also get this gameplay mechanic of running in the water, which is always cool. It's a lot more dangerous. You got to keep your boost meter up, or Sonic will drop down the water and die, because remember, he can't swim. There's no underwater in this game, it's just death. Death to all who oppose him. And the level after that is, well, Werehog in Cool Edge, which, you know, at least it looks a lot different because it's at night. It's one of the worst levels in the game because it's so slow and boring. That's, yeah, some of the best elements of this game is really just skipping over fights because they are that tedious and sluggish to do. If you have the option to do it, I recommend skipping over fights, especially near the last level, which we'll get to later. This will take us to the Alaska boss, which is this giant serpent dark Gaia thing. We have to fight little things at the bottom there in order to lock the top. He'll try to freeze you, and you have to use these propane things to throw it at him. It freezes him, and then you just attack him. It's pretty basic, though it can be a little not well constructed at first. It kind of confuses what you're supposed to do. Once you know what you're doing, it's pretty simple. Like I said, Werehog's only good elements about him are his boss fights actually work pretty well, so that's nice. But we're in Werehog's worst stage by a country mile, which is the city Scamper, was it the skyscraper Scamper, which is in basically it's just New York. Let's just say that the America for this level area is just New York, and I don't know, this level is just, it has some of the worst gameplay elements of the Werehog. You have to fight this mini boss, which I just find harder than the other boss fights. This mini boss, which you have to fight multiple times. He's got attacks that will stun the Werehog and just make him fall on the ground. And you can get hit multiple times, and by the way there, it was lucky there, but if you get hit twice like that, which is pretty easy to, you can fall off this roof and die instantly. Actually, I've had to fight this guy like 20 times because of that, but BS. Usually you don't have to fight the mini boss there in an area like that, but here you have to, and it's fucking bullshit. They said, once you know how to do it, it's not too hard, but it's such an annoying beginner's trap. It's just not fun. Having your character flail on the ground and having him mash the A button, but he has another attack that also does that, and now you're off the roof and you're dead. That's not fun, that's fucking bullshit. Anyway, next up is Arid Sands Day, and these are the order you have to play them in case you're wondering, just to let you guys know. Arid Sands Day is pretty interesting, because we actually, this new area also makes you have a new stop point. Pretty much everywhere you go, you have to talk to Professor Pickle all the time, and here is the new area. The Arid Sands area is where you can find him again. Yeah, I don't know why they had to do that. It's not really necessary, but I guess they want to change it up a bit. This level is interesting because there are the regular people just standing around with Sonic during the beginning part of the level, which is pretty funny, though they do look a little dopey when you look at them close up. But yeah, Arid Sands, there's not much to say about this level. It's fine, nothing too spectacular, other than that interesting intro part there. Next up is Skyscraper Scamper for Day. This is actually one of the harder levels for Day stages. And this one, mostly because you can tell the controls are they work fine, but when they try to go a little above and beyond, at least in my opinion, there's some elements that are like, okay, that just feels a little clunky. And this stage definitely has some of that. All it is pretty fun. You got a lot of open areas to run through and through a giant city. But other than that, yeah, I don't like some of the elements in this level that just feel a little clunky with the platforming, where you can't really move him around that well. He can do some side steps like that, but you're trying in a more open 3D area, and you actually do your boost instead of what you wanted to do. That's when it can get pretty annoying, especially during these platforming sections here. You can't boost. Okay, so that's fine, but then you realize, oh, he feels clunky. I don't know how to describe it very well. I'm doing a bad job, I know. And then you go back to Arid Sands Night. Like, I still am just confused why they just not let it. Okay, Arid Sands Day and Night, that's how it should work. To have a better flow between the game, but, you know, this game doesn't know what flow is. Sonic knows who Flo is. He met her once in a progressive ad. This exists. Look it up. Arid Sands is probably one of the most tedious levels of the Werehog, by the way. I digress there. Mostly because there's so much areas where you're just like fighting enemies over and over again. They're just respawning constantly in just one section over and over again. That's so not fun. I hate that in games. It's not fun just to like, okay, when is this fight gonna be over? Oh wait, there's another enemy respawning. Oh wait, there's another enemy respawning. Wow, very fun. It's not. But now that we're here, we get to fight this great boss fight. This is actually the worst boss fight in the game. Even though the final boss can make it a run for its money, because this one is just bizarre. So you got this little thing there, the guy, and you easily defeat him, and there's spike gates coming up, and what you do, you just push a block. Yeah, pushing a block. Well, how fun. Now, pushing a block is something I don't like in any video game, even like something like Zelda. I hate when you have to do it. It's not fun. Like, I don't know who thinks it's a fun gameplay mechanic that has to come back in literally every fucking game. But yeah, seriously, when it comes to game design, please don't do the pushing block mechanic. It's slow, it's tedious. You're like, why the hell am I doing this? Oh my god, all you do is push a block into the up there, and then the boss will finally come down. You have to do that 3 times. what the fuck were they thinking with this? That's not fun. Anyway, next up is Jungle Joyride Night. This level is not very difficult, actually. It's pretty normal for a Werehog level. It's actually much more manageable than the previous ones. Who knew? And we finally get to Jungle Joyride Day, which is the last day Sonic stage, which I mentioned earlier takes an asinine long way to actually get here because of the dumb requirement to collect all these medals. That'll be fine for side content, which there is side things you can find in the level. They actually don't unlock things like the Red Rings do in later Sonic games, because there's actually unlockables in the level, like CDs and stuff like that, which is fine. I like that, but, you know, it would have been nice if they did that rather than that. Also, the fact that there's different medals is pretty fucking stupid. I don't know why that was necessary. Whatever. Why am I harping on about this? Well, this game is not set up to be a collectathon at all, so this random mechanic of just padding out the game, having you to go back to certain levels to do that, is annoying. I don't like it. Yeah, Jungle Joyride, it's a fun stage. It is definitely hard because there's a lot of water mechanics and you might die a couple times, but definitely is a nice tropical feel to it. It's not awful. Like I said, most of the day stages are fun and they are worth replaying, but the flow of just playing it by the game by itself is what really brings it down for me. The Werehog stages aren't fun. The story is, well, I basically went over the entire story for you until the very end. There's not much going on afterwards, like, at all. Like, I'm not joking at all. Like, nothing happens in between here and there, between what I just mentioned and what's happening at the very end of the game. So, there's a lot of problems with this game, which makes it say, people say this game is the greatest game. Well, yeah, I say it has some good elements, obviously very strong elements. The music is great, the art direction is probably the best in the series, and some of the day stages, a lot of them, are actually really fun, even though I think the later games have did the boost for me a little better, in my opinion. But there's like so much holding it back that I just can't say this is one of the best Sonic games. I'm sorry. It has great things, obviously, in it, but the lackluster story, in my opinion, the random flow between level to level, which doesn't make a lot of sense, tedious hub worlds that just feel like they have no connective tissue, and all the other things I mentioned are why that I can't get into Sonic Unleashed as much as other games. In fact, I get really pissed off when playing this game sometimes, because the difficulty curve in some areas are just fucking annoying, and they're not fun difficulty, they're annoying difficult. I went through Sonic 06 and Shadow the Hedgehog, and I had better time playing those games than this one at some points. You know, this game is technically a better game because of how annoying some of the difficulty curve shit is. Anyway, we're back to another boss fight. This one looks the same as the previous one, but it's not. I think the game designers just kind of gave up on creating a new boss fight for this area, but whatever. I think the strange thing about it is it's not Eggman even in there, it's just like a random little robot thing. And also, the fact that this one plays differently than the first one we fought on the previous level, it's just like, why couldn't they just create a new model for this thing? Oh well. Oh, by the way, we have a relevant cutscene to see here. Chip's nervous about going to the temple randomly, and he's like, "What? Why are you nervous?" He's like, "I don't know, I just feel nervous." With the last case ever unlocked, Chip is revealed to be Light Gaia. Who could have saw that coming? I did. And now, the game had lacked a lot of cutscenes up to this point. We have a cutscene where Sonic and Chip have a heart-to-heart. That's actually pretty nice. I do like this cutscene, but it's not that great. I didn't feel the relationship with Sonic and Chip is that great. Honestly, Chip's voice is kind of annoying. He doesn't do a whole lot other than make food puns. He's not an awful character, but he's kind of like, and he basically just replaces any other Sonic character. Tails and Amy are in the game, but they barely do anything. And other characters that would seem like would be in here, like, this would be the perfect time to have Knuckles in a game. The world falling apart seems like a good opportunity for him to actually show up, rather than the other Heroes or 06, where he has no reason to be there. Here you actually have a good reason to use him. They don't use him. It's very strange. Where's Shadow and all this? Or, you know, I don't know, the Chaotix. They could have been in the level, like, doing an investigation. They could follow, maybe they're travel around the world, you know, whatever, who cares. Yeah, we're at the final bar of the game, and oh yeah, here's another tornado section. It's pretty much the same as the first one. It's slightly harder, but not really. It's just kind of boring. Like, I just wish I was on a rail shooter here rather than just pressing buttons. Oh, maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just completely wrong about this whole thing. And at least it's the final level, which, by the way, I made a mistake earlier. We went for all 6 temples we found. There's one last one, and Eggman having to build his entire amusement park around it. Eggman Land. It finally came to be. And I gotta say, this level does not hold up to the hype that Eggman should have done. And Eggman Land is, well, it's one of the most famous levels in Sonic history, next to Labyrinth Zone from Sonic 1, and, Silver's Dusty Desert from Sonic 06, and a lot of the Shadow Zones in the Space Colony arc. This level, I'm not joking, the last time I played this, it took me 15 minutes to beat it, because it is, yeah. So the main gimmick of this one is that, instead of having an Act 1, Act 2 structure, you play as both Day Sonic and Night Sonic at the same time, which is crazy, I guess. The day stages are better here, but there are a lot of sections that are just incredibly annoying. It's hard, but like I said, it doesn't feel like hard in a way that's like, okay, I messed up there. It feels like hard, like, what the fuck how was I supposed to fucking know that? And yeah, the whole entire thing, you're swapping between both hedgehogs. Though, luckily for you, as a werehog, you can skip through most of the fighting, which is good, because fighting these fuckers is annoying as hell. You just jump over them, but then you have to do shitty platforming, so does it really matter? No, it doesn't. The day part of the level actually is very hit or miss. There's some areas that I feel like are very well designed, and other areas I feel like, what the hell they designed this? Like, I asked, who designed this? It felt like fucking Whiplash for some of the level design here, elements here. And I don't know, maybe it was just the day only and night only it would have been better, but having swapped between two of them, I get Whiplash, and it took me, like, way too long to beat this level. Like I said, 15 minutes, and that was a B rank, too. I got a B rank somehow, and I don't even know how I did that, with fucking 15 minutes to spare. I'm gonna be fucking ass at this game, but I don't know, I'm pretty good at Sonic Generations. That's the same fucking gameplay style, except with the werehog. I don't know, I don't think I'm that bad at games. I thought I was okay at I thought I was good at Sonic games, but this game basically says, you're shit. Or maybe I am. So yeah, Eggman Land is just an okay design-wise when it comes to level aesthetics. It's something the most interesting final boss for Eggman, and I feel like it really should be more. There are some amusement elements, there's some Eggman memorabilia there, but I don't know, I feel like there should be a little bit more carnival aspect to it. There is some of it, obviously. You are in a roller coaster for one little point, but you know, if you want to, I think about Eggman of the music park, I think of more like Sonic Colors when it comes to that regard, but whatever. Though, some of the day parts can be a little difficult. The werehog parts are pretty terrible. Like, these bouncing beams are always bad in previous levels, but now they're even worse during this section where it just feels like I don't even know what they really want me to do. It's just garbage. I hate it. So the balancing is pretty hard to do, but most of the time you don't have to jump onto them. But here, during this section, they really want you to jump onto it, and the jump is fickle, so it's pretty easy just to fall off and miss the jump entirely. And I don't know, I feel like I play a lot of platformer games. I never had this much trouble, but this game's like, fuck you. I was like, whatever. I guess I gotta get this game really wants to test you. It really doesn't want you to go to the final end. It's like, fuck it, you game. I'm going to fucking beat you, which I did. So there's other sections I don't like about this area. Like I said, there's a lot of sections I don't like about this area. There are some pretty good ones, but there's also a lot of bad ones. Like this area here, where you're going 2D up the corridor. Kind of reminds me of that section in Sonic Heroes, Metropolis. Yeah, Metropolis. Well, I don't know what the fuck it was called. But here, you make a little mistake, and you accidentally go too far off, you can die easily. And that's just the gameplay. You have to know, do it at the right timing in order for it to work. I love that. It's great. So anyway, once we're done playing the hardest level in Sonic history, which, yeah, it is. I'm not joking when I said I had an easier time doing the Master Coco boss rush in Sonic Frontiers, which is hard as hell to do, but I actually had more fun doing it. Was easier than Eggman Land, and that is saying a lot. But after pretty much being absent from the entire game other than some random cutscenes, Eggman's here with a new creation, which he called... Oh, the Ultra Hyper Prototype 1! You mean the Egg Dragoon? Whatever. Despite its pretty neat design, this boss fight's pretty easy. Honestly, it's not very hard at all. He'll do a bunch of attacks, but they're pretty easy to dodge. This one you just have to run out of the way, and other swipes are pretty easy. All you do is get close and you use the your long attacks to hit the green part. And that's it. It goes on like that, and it changes slightly, but not enough for it to be very difficult. It's pretty easy boss fight. Well, it's not hard at all. It was better in Sonic Generations where you're not playing as the werehog. But there's 2 quick time events. Yeah, this is Eggman's final rush in this game. He was most intimidating during the beginning of the game, the beginning cutscene, and the rest of the game he's useless. I do not understand his writing in this game, but whatever. The funniest thing that happened to me, as I mentioned earlier in the game, is that Sonic's dialogue got fucked up, so he kept saying, it's like, Eggman! Getting pretty slim there, Eggman! Getting pretty slim there, Eggman! Like, what the fuck's going on? But whatever. I do like this part where Sonic's punching the shit out of his face here, which is hilarious. I wish it was more of a presence in the game. This would have been more satisfying. I guess it's satisfying after all the shit he posted through in the previous games. But his little face there is hilarious. I love that. All of a sudden, the game looks way better, and we see Dark Gaia, who, yeah, there he is. Like I said, Dark Gaia is not my favorite Sonic final boss fight. His design is there, and then him fighting him, his presence, everything about him is that great. And the reason Eggman thinks he's going to team up with him, even though they have not done anything to that regard in the past, but whatever. And randomly, Sonic transforms out of a werehog. I guess Dark Gaia drains his energy, and this makes him weaker somehow, even though the werehog doesn't seem that strong compared to the Sonic's base form. Whatever. I actually don't know what's going on here, why Sonic seems like he's weak all of a sudden, but then he isn't later on. But this makes Chip fucking pissed off, and then he transforms himself into whatever that is. It's not dumb. People say it's dumb, but it's really not that dumb. It's kind of neat. But here it is, the epic Dark final boss fight we've been waiting for, right? Yeah, not really. Dark Gaia, he sucks. And this boss fight also is pretty bad. This is what you're mostly doing the entire time. He throws rocks as you slowly go towards him, and this thing, as you're boosting towards it with this giant rock thing as Chip. I don't know why it's so fucking slow. And uh-oh, avoid rocks. Here, let me slowly punch it with weird timing. Yeah, this is fucking ass. Hey, you think the fighting between it would be pretty cool? No, just a quick time event. Press the button when it comes up. But hey, there's one little cool thing. You get to play as Sonic still, as he's running on the Chip Temple in order to get closer to Dark Gaia's eye. Well, these sections aren't that well designed. In fact, there's some little areas that just piss me off. You have to do it at a certain amount of time, but for the most part, this is way funner than that slow, tedious shit you had to do earlier. And yes, once you're done that section, you have to do it again. And then after doing that again, for some reason Dark Gaia shoots off dark energy, and all the people of the game react incredibly weird and like really odd mocap all of a sudden. Like, I don't know why the end cutscenes here, these people look really, really janky. Like, what's going on with their limbs there? I don't get it. But don't worry, all the Chaos Emeralds inside the temple are coming to Sonic, and you know what that means. Perfect Dark Gaia. Yeah, they stole that from Perfect Chaos. I don't know why he's perfect, but now he is. But don't worry, he's easier than before, because now we're playing as Sonic, and all you do during this section is literally just go towards him and collect the giant bundles of rings along the way, which will automatically magnetize to you if you're even slightly close to them. So that's not very hard. And then the rest of the boss fight is just going around this little orb with very little things attacking you and just hitting the things there. There is no ring counter, by the way. I checked, but nothing seems to go down. So that's very weird. You think that would add some tension, because this boss fight is incredibly easy now. It went from annoyingly stupid to incredibly easy, where you just go around and just wait for his tentacles to come out. He'll occasionally shoot at stuff at you, but they're so easy to dodge that it's like basically nothing as you wait for other things to come out. I guess you gotta worry about the Chip or Gaia Colossus being damaged, but like I said, this thing is, you're going really fast and it's pretty easy to avoid getting hit, that there's really nothing stopping you. This is what they had in mind for the final boss. Okay, well, maybe we can do another charge attack against him. Well, instead of that, we get a easy quick time event, and then all you do is mash the X button a billion times. That's some great gameplay there. It seems harder than it is, but it really isn't. If you don't know how to bash, that might be hard, but it's really not. So, okay, where's the next part of this fight with Supersonic? Well, you press the X button, you go through his finger, and then he's dead. I'm not joking, that's literally it. Wow, what a great, perfect final boss fight. Just kidding, it's probably the worst final boss fight in any Sonic game. I'm not even joking, I actually don't like this boss fight at all. Probably the worst part about Sonic Unleashed, other than the tonal whiplash. Dark Gaia sucks, his boss fight was terrible, it wasn't fun. It was challenging because how fucking lame the first part of it was, and the second part was laughably easy, but not in a fun way. So yeah, I don't like Dark Gaia. I don't like him at all. Then we get more awkward mocap humans, except the designs aren't bad, but with this weird animation with them right there, just bizarre. Like, it looks like fucking Food Fight. And then Professor Pickle talks about how dark and in light is for some reason, even though that's nothing to do with the tone of the game, but whatever. Chip then says, "Bye, Sonic, you passed out, I don't know how." And he sends Sonic back up to the world, and he leaves his little neck behind. Like, he somehow finds this little necklace thing, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna keep this on my wrist. I'll never wear it again, by the way." Some people are complaining about that, but they really expected Sonic to have this oddly shaped gizmo on his arm the rest of the series. Yeah, I didn't think so. And that's Sonic Unleashed. It was a giant mixed bag, and that's what it is to me to this day. I know some people love it, and I can see why. Don't get me wrong, if you love this game, good on you. I can see why someone does, but I don't get into the Werehog, and that's more than half the game, and the rest of it's such a mess. Though it does, I was like, ugh, it was just a relief to be over it, especially by the time the Endless Possibilities, the main theme, plays, which is the only theme song in the game, sung by the guy from Bowling for Soup, who's now the voice of Chuck E. Cheese, which is, kind of funny. It's a good song, and that interdimensional version plays during the final boss. It's pretty neat. Oh yeah, this game was a mess, in my opinion. I pretty much said everything I wanted to say about this game. This is a game I really want to like more than I actually do. And the boost formula is fun, though I do think it's sad that we're not going to see Adventure formula because of this game. And that kind of makes me mad about it, but at the same time I can't be. Like I said, the art direction is fantastic in this game. I wish more Sonic games look like this. I'm bummed out that we get so little other Sonic characters in the story. It seems, in my opinion, more lackluster. We are saving the world, and there is some cool human interaction you can optionally do. There's not a whole lot to it. It feels kind of shallow for the most part. If it really comes down to it, I don't enjoy playing with the Werehog. I find its levels to be tedious and has some of the worst gameplay elements in games I just don't like. It's tedious pulling off levers and pushing blocks and button mashing combos to try to fight enemies that are mostly the same throughout the entire game, and with very little variety. And where's variety, the ones that come new are just worse versions of the ones we've seen already. Werehog brings this game down so much that I can't say this game is one of the best Sonic games. In fact, it might be one of my least favorite of the mainline Sonic games by Sonic Team, and that goes for games like Sonic 06 and Shadow the Hedgehog, which I actually would rather play than this game. I am sorry to say that. This game might have higher points than those two games, but at the same time, as overall product, I think Sonic Unleashed falls short. If you're a fan of the Sonic franchise, then go give this game a try. You probably should. It's part of the Sonic history, first Boost Formula game. I definitely recommend checking it out, especially if you're a big fan of Boost games. But if you haven't gotten into Sonic before, this is definitely not the first one I'd recommend at all. Though what we were seeing here now is the PC version of the game, which was a fan-made compilation that came out recently, Decompilation, where someone made an actual PC port, even though people have been wanting this for years, with other Sonic games, the Boost games. You think they're like, oh, why is there no Generations Unleashed in Colors Boost compilation? I don't know, Sega's lazy. Here someone did it, and they even fixed some major problems. It looks the best it could possibly be, as well as the fact that the main thing with the Unleashed boss music, the fight music, is changed, where you can get rid of it entirely, which is a good thing. This is the best way to play the game, and if you really want to play it, go ahead. There's a different version of the game, but I think I would have to cover a different point, because it's apparently so different. The Wii / PS2 version, and I want to cover in a separate video. Lovely. Sonic Unleashed was released on 360 and PS3, and both versions are pretty easy to find, with a pretty low complete price. The 360 version is better, mostly because you can play it on the modern day Series X console, which is what I did for the video, just to be authentic. But the PC version fan version is better. It's definitely not official, so that's why I can't put it in the video, say I played that for the video, so whatever. And here's the PS3 version in price comparison. It is technically a little cheaper than the 360, but not by much. Like I said, 360 can play on modern consoles, so it's a little bit more valuable. So there you go. Anyway, here's my tier list, and there's where Sonic Unleashed is in the B tier. Not bad, but definitely could be a lot better. Like I said, if it was just the daytime stages, it might be an A tier game we're looking at, but as it is, well, I kinda rank it there. Alright, not bad, not great. Anyway, see you next time for Sonic videos. Hopefully the next one will come out quicker, but it really depends on my mood. It's kinda hard to play games that I just can't get into as much, and Sonic Unleashed had that was the biggest problem with that game, so it took me so long. Sorry if you're an Unleashed fan, I know you already probably disliked this video from the very beginning, but whatever. If you came this far, thank you for watching. Like I said, I will be covering the Wii version of Sonic Unleashed next time. And then I could do Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. See you then.